forum. This is a useful place to go when you want to find a very hefty and bulky article that talks about your topic. This is a good way to search for it. So I filtered to have PDF, and it shows only PDFs in terms of economic engagement. So a bunch of, terms of engagements, alternatives to punitive policies, U.S.-Cuban relations. All of these probably are going to be fruitful in terms of the terrorism list and finding viable pieces of evidence. And it took less than 15 seconds to get very high-quality evidence that will be useful for the rest of the year, rest of the month, rest of the couple months. So that's advanced Google search to filter for PDFs. You just go to click on this right little gear, click on advanced search, and it'll get you to that part right there. Okay? How many of you got a Google account, or how many has a Gmail account right now? Good. Back when I got mine, it was invite only. Show how old I am. So one nice thing about Google is Google Reader. It's getting eliminated, but there are RSS feeds, so I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of that. Who here does some politics research, cuts the politics file for their team? Okay. Austin, what are some websites you go to when you're doing your politics research?
Like to start off with general news sites.
Okay. So what you just do Google News, or do you go to the actual websites? The actual website. So name a couple.
New York Times.
New York Times. Christian, do you have one?
I usually just do Google News.
Google News. Monica?
Google News, Lexis, if I have it.
Okay. So a lot of the websites I go to are, New York Times. I go to the Washington Post, and back when I used to debate in high school, I'd go to Google. I go to the Washington Post because I didn't think to just, type in WashingtonPost.com for some reason, and then I would try and search for immigration, and then I would be sent into a loop for some particular reason, and then I would give up that, maybe go get something to eat or watch TV, and then I would go to the Los Angeles Times, click that, go to their search engine, type in immigration, see if there's anything there, and then do that, read this article, see if there was something good, hopefully there is, and it's a little bit time consuming. A RSS feed, I really should have taken the time to just figure out what that stands for, but it gathers all articles from these websites and puts it into nice little neat folders for you. So I have not gone to those websites in quite some time because you can organize it to send it to your RSS feed, and then by doing that, it sends you the most recent updates. So for instance, for the Georgia Basin Debate Team, I do a lot of politics research. So instead of going to the actual website, like the New York Times or the Washington Post, I go to my RSS feed, and it'll upload the daily articles going back as far as I want it to go back. And most RSS feeds have a search engine within them. So instead of going to that website, typing in immigration, I can just go here, type in immigration, and I have all of those major websites and articles that talk about immigration, and I didn't have to type in the URLs and navigate any of those websites. I can just go here, and it shows me a little snippet, and I can take it, go to a website like Politico, trying to close the immigration. Very classy, Sarah. So that's the main benefit of that. You know, you can organize that for anything. So, for instance, I already started a little bit of my research on the Latin America topic. So I included the New York Times has a subsection of the Cuba of Cuba things. There's this think tank, CIP Americas, and there are a plethora of think tanks, and all of them have websites that you can just stream into that. How you do that in terms of RSS feeds is each RSS feed will have a subscribe button, and you just add the URL. So you go to that website once, and then you never have to go there again, and you save 20, 25 minutes each and every day instead of going to those actual websites. And even if you don't want to do that, you can still do other things like I'm trying to cook for myself a little bit more, so I have like Thug Kitchen. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. And there are other useful things that you can use. Unfortunately, Google Reader, due to the lack of users, is being deleted. So the one I'm using right now it's called Net Newswire, and it's a free download that is good for Mac. That's Net Newswire. So that's RSS feeds. So one of the benefits of this camp and just being on a college campus is you get access to all of the vast resources that we have here, and you should definitely take advantage of that. So I'm going to talk about databases, which are websites that have multiple resources into one particular search engine. So think about when you do a Google News search for a particular news item. What kind of websites pop up for that? Christian?
Different newspapers and media sources.
Different newspapers, but how often do like subscriber websites pop up? Like The Economist, Wall Street Journal. Does it pop up a lot, or at a certain point doesn't it tell you that you have to pay to see more? LexisNexis, these databases include that, and then there's not that pop-up of pay for more, because the university is paying for these subscriptions. So to get to a database at George Mason, you just go to George Mason Library. You go to databases. Seems pretty simple. And then it's all organized alphabetically. Go to LexisNexis because that's my favorite. You go down to Lexis Academic, and as the title says, it provides a wide range of news. And the other useful thing in terms of if the public forum or Lincoln Douglas, if timeliness or a news article isn't really needed, there are tons of law reviews on LexisNexis that can provide a lot of good data and evidence to support a lot of your arguments, not just news sites. So go to Lexis, and you can. It's a large part of Lexis is to find legal cases and to find law reviews, but there's a very good search engine. So, for instance, with the New York Times, how many people read the New York Times just for fun? It's okay, you know. What this search engine allows you to do is allows you to search by a particular news source. So, for instance, say I want to look at immigration. Then I can filter it by doing the New York Times. And it will only provide me immigration articles from the New York Times. One nice part about LexisNexis is how many times are you cutting a piece of evidence where you throw it into your Microsoft Word document, and it's completely formatted weird, and you have to change the font because they like, sorry? Verandia, any of those weird texts, and you just really want Times New Roman. LexisNexis, I mean, this is just a stylistic thing. They unformat everything when you send it out, and it also provides a very useful search engine. So when you get into more advanced research, one thing that it has is it has the ability to limit down the results, right? So in this initial result, we got 1,000 articles. Yes.
Now, and this is a step back, but with LexisNexis being offered by GMU, is that anywhere nationwide, or is that just like say I go home and I'm not connected to the campus wireless, will I still have the ability to access the library and then their databases, or did they restrict that during the school year to only GMU students?
Todd, you were
allowed to get, like you're looking at the library website for databases, let's say you go to LexisNexis.
Okay.
Click on it, it'll come to this login screen where you choose, let's say like you're using the password that you use to sign into your library.
Okay, so we should definitely keep the wireless
I don't know,
passwords.
I assume they would like cancel that after the campus goes away.
Okay.
yeah. So the answer is no. Even though Todd is nodding his
Well, I know
head.
you can get access to it, but
Well, you should check with your high school library because sometimes they like have access to Lexis, but they just don't tell you. So
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So 1,000 is a lot. I don't know about you, but I'm never going to read 1,000 articles in a day, let alone a month maybe. I don't want to completely show that I'm illiterate. So 1,000 articles is a lot. When you start getting a lot of articles, you can tone it down or filter it down to what you particularly want. So say I'm a negative researcher and I want to research about immigration passing. So in terms of the politics disadvantage, immigration in relation to Obama is a very essential thing. So I would want only articles that would talk about President Obama, not Sarah Palin and Nancy Pelosi getting in a fight. So right on the top right, there's a search within results, which allows you to filter that down even further. So now I only have 111 articles, which that's pretty manageable of articles that talk about Obama and immigration. Now, say there's a particular issue I want to talk about. Maybe it's border security, because it seems like Republicans really want that fence. So I'll just type in border. And now I limited it further down. You can keep doing that until you get the piece of evidence that you want. The benefit of a database is it can, say you have an idea in your head of a piece of evidence that you want, you can use the search terms to get an idea of where in that piece of evidence that you want. So now I'm going to show you the advanced search of LexisNexis, which is one of my favorite things to use. So it's on the left-hand side, advanced search, and they use the same algorithm that Google uses, so it's easy for you to just use the things that Jackie taught you and apply them here. So you can search, if you have a sentence in your head where you want a piece of evidence to say immigration and Obama's political capital, or Obama's political capital, and just see what's out there, you have the ability to do that. So I want to search immigration, and then within, so you do within 30 words. Let's go 15. Of Obama. And you can search today. For politics researchers, you want to search the last week, generally, because anything can really happen in relation to politics. You go down I get all news English, which gets all the evidence that I want. I click search, and I already have 535 articles that say at least that Obama and immigration are in the same paragraph. Let's see if I can get it. Let's just say, yeah, capital. Alright, so there are at least 32 articles that I have that say something in relation to political capital, Obama, and immigration. 32. I mean, it's pretty hard to find political capital articles in relation to immigration or in general, since political capital is kind of a term of art we like to use in debates that some news writers do use, but not as much as we would like them to write about. So 32 is pretty good to find a pretty good uniqueness claim for political capital, or to find a pretty good answer to that. So, are there any questions about LexisNexis? This is a debater's best friend. And something that's pretty nice is how many times for the policy debaters will you see a site and it'll show the law reviews code? Not really, Monica. One benefit of having Lexis is if you ever see like say there's some courts-based argument, or there's something in relation to a law review. All of the law review journals have a specific code which allows you to access them very quickly. So, for instance, let's have something related to Cuba within 10 of the embargo. There is most likely a law review article. So, there's a law review article right here related to international law and the Cuban embargo. Okay. So, does everybody see this American Journal of International Law part right there? Under it is the title, or the abbreviation for the journal. Each law review has that. It's a lot of debate camps teach their students to include that into the citation, so I can take that particular abbreviation, throw it in my citation, and even if I butcher the citation of the title, so I misspell United States and I'm United States or something, or I do international or economics, something in relation to that. As long as I have the abbreviation correct, I can just go back to Lexis, I can click the advanced search, I can go here and use that data, all available dates, go to law reviews, and click. And you can find a very lengthy and well-elaborated article in relation to your particular topic within 5 to 10 seconds. So, I would highly recommend for those policy debaters later when we do those spot searches later today, or when we're doing research in terms of politics, timely issues, that we use Lexis because it's a very good resource. So that is Lexis. Now we're going to move on to project views. Library. Probably should bookmark this too to make it easier so you don't have to waste time clicking databases. Project Muse is the Lexis for people that are into philosophy. And JSTOR, which we won't cover today, but it's very similar. As you can see on the right-hand side, they cover a lot of more critical areas. So I know a lot of you said that you want to get better on the criticism, research the criticism a little bit more. This is the place to start in terms of that. I'll admit right now, I do not cut criticisms, so I'm not particularly well versed with this website, but people on the debate team that enjoy doing critical research, Project Muse, JSTOR, these are the places they go to. And it's, Jackie, they use the same algorithm, right? For
I know that JSTOR does. JSTOR actually gives you really handy search connectors on the side. You can have like choose and, which means you can put two words next to each other. It also has connectors like or, like if you're searching for two different philosophies that sometimes compare themselves to each other, using the word or often gives you like articles that are like very similar to what you need. They also have
the advanced search.
yeah, you have to use the advanced search in that instance.
So I got the JSTOR using the same tools. I went to George Mason Library, just Googled that, went to the website, went to the database, went to advanced search. So
That side item is very important for JSTOR that says full text, because if you don't, you can change that however you want to help it, and you're going to get a lot of articles if you don't try to narrow down your search on JSTOR that aren't relevant at all.
So I usually go from the title or abstract. Let's go capitalism. Seems to be something. We'll throw that in the title. And economic engagements. Let's see if we hit the goal line. Do some.
I would keep that full text. Yeah.
This full text. As I was thinking about throwing it as the author,
Oh yeah, that'll.
but you know what? I didn't. Let's see what we got there. Oh, nothing. Okay, there is no author named economic engagement. Okay, let's see what we have. So we definitely know that the words economic engagement are going to be in at least 12 articles. And the nice thing about JSTOR and Project Muse is these articles are all from people that are into philosophy, that are into these areas of study. And if any of you have read any of their literature, you know that they do not keep it brief. They just go on and on explaining their ideas. So 12 articles for somebody trying to do politics research is like, I need to find a bunch of more news articles, but this is enough to at least do some probably pretty good link work on this topic in relation to capitalism with this search right here. You can do that. And a nice thing too is even though you can't access these resources after you leave this camp, something that's useful to do and something you should do is, say there's a particular criticism you like, even if you don't have time to cut the evidence, all of these are in PDF form. So you just click the PDF. Theoretically, you just click the PDF, and then you save it. Just save it to your desktop. Even if you don't think you're going to cut it, it's useful to just download. Everything's pretty well formatted, so you can just be able to copy and paste it to a Word document later on. So it's useful for, say there's a particular idea that you want to implement into Lincoln Douglas or Public Forum, getting the theoretical background and structure for that, you can just download 10, 15 articles. Don't even have to look at them now, don't even have to look at them until a month before your first tournament, but it allows you when people read criticisms against you, every time I can guarantee, at least one part of the shell is coming from JSTOR, it's coming from Project Muse, because that is the best resource in terms of doing critical research. So, that is Project Muse, that is, well, let's see if the same search applies. Books and journals. Modify search. Thank you, Lincoln. And it has the not as many tools as JSTOR, but you can still search and see if Mr. or Mrs. Economic Engagement exists. So let's figure that out. Somebody can be named Northwest. Somebody can be named Economic Engagement. Am I right? Nobody?
Wow.
Okay. No results found. So, yeah, that was databases. We covered RSS feeds. We did a little bit of advanced searches.
Alright, one thing you might be wondering is, but what if I am trying to research when I'm home and I need PDFs, but I don't have handy-dandy places like this because I'm in high school and my high school is not as nice as your college to provide these type of resources. There are many ways that you can access databases like this at your home. The first is going to public libraries. Public libraries can help you a lot more than you think they can, because these people actually know how to research. Most of the time they just have to show you where books are in stacks, but they know how to do more things than that. So if you have article titles that you find in Google that you're like, that article looks like I could craft an entire affirmative around it, I need it, go to the library. They can help you get it. The other place to go is colleges. If you live near a college, there are a lot of times where if you go to the library, they will help you out. The last thing I would recommend doing, if you all are Facebook connected, you should join all of the college debate Facebook groups. The college debaters are very willing to help high school debaters get research. So if you have found an article title that you were like, I need this, but I don't have access to it, you can post on those forums and be like, hey, can anyone back channel me access to this article? And they can email it to you and get you in contact with it. Fall sales, contact me or Peter or someone here, because we're super helpful and we like you guys because we know you. So we might be more willing to help you than they. We are more willing to help you than that. So those would be things I would recommend doing on your free time. Any questions for this? Or Peter would be best for like RSS stuff.
And while Jackie was talking about that, I mean, for those of you on my left-hand side, I went to Fairfax County Library's website, you know, just typed it in, went there, clicked on online resources, but, you know, anything that says resources generally on whatever your local library website is. I clicked online resource websites. I went to newspapers, and ProQuest, which is another great database, was right there. For us, that I would probably just need my library card and my library password for, which is a free resource through all local libraries, and there it is. So, yep.
Is it possible to include like something like Lexis in an RSS feed?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. the point of a database is, and when you cut from a database, you never include the URL in your research because the database creates that unique URL for you. So say you found a great card on Lexus and you want to email it to your partner or email it to your friends. If they click that link, they are not logged into the website and they do not have the same search tools. So it'll just say error, which is why there's a function on Lexus that, let's go back to integration.
Is there a way to then set up alerts to let you know if a new article has been posted on Lexus about it?
The way to do that is to know the websites that you like to have to begin with, like the New York Times, and then those individual websites have their RSS feeds, and then you filter it in that way. Say there's an article you really like, so I really enjoy this article that talks about it focusing on women. There is a function that allows me to email the document and be like, I can email it to my partner and be like, cut this. Send in my email, cut this. Seriously. I'm sick, I'm tired of you not cutting cards.
You also say that to yourself during holidays.
And then I'll send it to my partner. I don't have a partner right now because I don't date anymore, so I'll send that article to myself. And there it is. It's going to be in my inbox, formatted, and I'll have an angry partner later today, which is myself. Questions?
With the RSS feeds, are there any other alternatives for more modern RSS feeds? I was reading an article about Google Reader, and they were saying that they're coming up with something different that's similar.
I've not particularly. I was dumbfounded when they decided to get rid of Google Reader like 4 months ago. I found NetNewsWire, so that's just the one I enjoy doing. But I mean, it shouldn't be that hard to find other ones. RSS feeds. To replace Google. There's probably a better search term for that. But there's also a lot of angry people out there that love Google Reader, so they're probably very vocal with these 3 articles right here. The race to replace Google Reader. So there are probably 5 pretty high quality RSS feeds that you can mess with.
Sorry, it's a super basic question, but can you go over what the terms cut and cards mean?
Oh, sure. A card is a piece of evidence that it's a warrant or data that supports the claim that you're trying to make. So a lot in terms of the immigration debates, you would have a piece of evidence that is from, like, say, the New York Times, and you'd have the claim that says immigration reform is going to pass now, and then the card would be the piece of evidence from a website like the New York Times, an article from the New York Times that says immigration reform will pass now because the Senate has passed the Border Security Amendment and now is the last obstacle. Cut is just a term that debaters use to say gather evidence.
The history of it is when we didn't have computers and were focused on getting newspapers from like the New York Times, reading them, cutting out an article, and then pasting it to a 3x5 card. They said that each card had its own argument on it. So that was the piece of evidence that we physically had. So we actually did have to cut them and paste them onto 3x5 cards. And it just stuck even when we transferred over to researching mainly electronically.
So now that you have a computer, would your cards be different files, or?
Now that you have computers, you can make large Word documents that have multiple
Okay.
cards on them.
but it's each individual argument is considered its own card.
Christian?
On Lexis, like when you're citing it in a card, how would you do that if you don't have the URL, so like people can access your ideas?
For the best you can do for Lexis is just say that it's from, you accessed it from Lexis, and then they have to go find that resource for you. One other benefit to Lexis for policy debaters, well, this is actually just a nice little tip I do for when I cite something. How many times will you send all the information into a Word document, and then the title is like 30 fonts, and it's bolded, and there's all these like random ads because they're on the left-hand side, so they get pushed in there, so you have to spend 15-30 seconds deleting that kind of stuff. So one way to get around at least the citation, to make that a little bit easier, is your URL, your search engine, is formatted to begin with. So whenever I start with an article, I'll always just type it in right there. So it would be Preston. I assume that she's a New York Times writer, but I'll verify that later. So staff writer, 6/20, Julia. That, got the title, got where it's from, New York Times, my initials or my name, since that's what I told you all to do. That, access on, Texas, dates, 6/26, and I finished my citation like by 20, 30 seconds. And I don't know for about you, but for like 5 or 6 years, it took me forever, at least a minute, to do my citations, and that happened in significantly shorter time. And you can do that for every single article that you do, since when I send that to a Word document, it's going to be unformatted already, and that should be something you include. So, yes, Monica?
Is it possible to incorporate like Google Reader documents or more academic stuff into the RSS feed, or is it just
Yeah. Let's go to my... I think I have a couple journals in mine, or at least I think I have like Foreign Affairs somewhere locked in here. I forget where it is. But it is possible because all of these journals will have a website where they announce where these things are. Like they'll announce, here are our articles for the month, or here is our quarterly section, and then you're not going to get that RSS feed. You're going to get that once every like 2 months or something, but it is possible. You just go to, you do some basic Google search, and then you go there. So for instance, I would imagine there is a website that is a Latin American Studies Journal. Latin American Research Review. That was close. So I go to the actual website here, and then grab that, the main website, go to my Google Reader, type in, or copy and paste, I say add, no things found. Alright, let's go to publications. Let's go to publications. Let's go to publications. Let's go to publications. Let's see if that works. Sometimes it doesn't. That didn't work. And then one useful thing is, and this depends on the quality of your RSS feed, Google Reader has Studies of
Research.
research review. I have such a large resume. What were we talking about again? You can just type in that and Journal of Latin American Studies. So like this one right here, it seems like has a different journal, and they publish the articles that they have quarterly. It's kind of hit or miss. I usually just go to the websites or use the actual database for that. I don't go to RSS feeds, but it is possible. So there's this Journal of Latin American Studies that you can use, and well, that's actually, I didn't cover that, so that's something useful that you can do. Journal of Latin American Studies. One other thing that you can use is the highest quality articles are going to come from, for your research, are going to come from books first, but this is 2013. We're all paperless. We use our computers, so I can understand how you don't want to go to a library, get a book, read the book, scan the book, throw it into a thing to turn your scans into text, underline, and then, you're bored. Journals are a lot easier just because you can use your F search and be like, I want to know every time the word Obama is used in this. Lincoln, can you please? Lincoln, please? I'm trying. I'm sorry. Okay. Get your stuff together, okay? So, after books, journals are the most useful thing because I don't know how many of you know this, but a lot of professors in their off time and during the semester, they specialize in particular fields, and then they're searching to publish their articles. And it's not like they're like, I'm random ex-professor at Tumblr or whatever, or Pinterest, or Reddit. I don't know. I only have Facebook. And they publish in journals that are related to their field, that will get them prestige, that will allow them to submit them to conferences, and they publish articles related to their field. So something useful to do for LD or public forum when your topic comes out, there's going to be a bunch of academics related to your topic. That's just inevitably how it is in terms of academics. So just in the policy topic, it's very easy to do. So you go to eJournals, type in Latin American Research Review, and George Mason shows the websites that currently have it. Click one of them, and you can see everything in relation to that. So, for a second I thought this was just a Spanish website. That would be a nightmare. So there's some pretty useful articles just right here. I don't know. This one right here is probably a pretty good critical piece of evidence that talks about liberal ideas in Latin America. That's probably useful. And it requires a little bit more work to do because the search engines aren't as good, but a lot of times it'll be more fruitful research, and it'll give you better ideas that you hadn't previously thought of. So for instance, I can just admit to you, I used last night the college topic. We're talking about increasing restrictions on presidential war powers. So I was just like, I want to get a website, President Quarterly. Oh, Presidential Studies Quarterly? Okay, I guess that's as good as President Quarterly. So I went to Presidential Studies Quarterly. found that, found this journal, found this article, and here's a preview to what I'm going to be reading at lunch. So, it's very easy to find. If you don't have, say you get stuck in your research and you're just like, I've exhausted my Google research, I just can't find anything anymore. It's useful to just, at some point during this camp, go to these journals and be like, ooh, that's an interesting topic, download the PDF, and then just have it in your computer for later on. You know, you should probably leave here with like 100 PDFs. You don't need to read any of them right now, but it's useful research for you later on in the year. So, anything else? Go ahead.
I have a question about citations for PF and LD. Do you have to actually do that?
You should get a handle of knowing how to cite things properly. This is for everyone just because you will need to know how, one, in college, two, when you write research papers. But you should have, even if you're just citing in text, like when you're reading and you're saying according to and continue reading, having a actual citation for that, even if you do it in like endnote form, where at the bottom you have endnotes that have the actual citations, allows you to more easily access this later on when you need to go back. Or when people ask you, hey, where'd you get that article that you cited? Because this is an academic activity that's going to happen. You'd be like, yeah, I was an awesome researcher, did this, got it here, here's the site, because I already have it, because I'm awesome.
And when you're saying, like, talking about the source, what are you saying? Like,
the most common thing that you would find, like if you are going onto a journal like that, is to cite the person who wrote the actual article. That is what you would want to do if anything you read in a round is written by someone qualified. So even if this is from Zakaria, who writes about economics or like certain like newspapers, you would cite him because he's known for his work in economics. If you are citing rando staff writer from, you know, maybe the Washington Post, you might even want to choose the Washington Post over that staff writer. It just depends on what gives you a little more credibility for that evidence.
so you might say the author, his field of study, the date, the title.
Are you asking like what you should read aloud when you get to it? Then you should say Fareed Zakaria, award-winning, published international relations author, says in the year. It says in 2010.
And the rest of all the other stuff, like, you know, the specific date, you know, day and month, and the title of the article, or all that stuff, you can include in the footnote, or just like in what, you know, the rest of it that you don't read, but that's just as far as you need to go. Because absent the inclusion of that full thing, as in Peter's Argumentation 101 lecture, there's like zero room for evidence comparison, right? Because how do you compare qualifications? How do you compare dates? How do you compare relevance of the article? All those things are substantially easier when you got the full.
And this is a big problem I've seen in both public forum and LD debate, that debaters don't do this. They're like, according to Edward Smith, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, who is Edward Smith? Why do I care? Does he have like an awesome, cool blog that doesn't really have warrants? It's just his opinion that he writes when he gets like super full on pizza and like soda and just wants to sit there and write articles? Or is he someone who actually has a PhD in that field and is actually very qualified? If you have that and they don't, got a leg up in that round where you can compare those like qualifications as a reason to prefer your argument over theirs.
So you're saying read like credentials?
Credentials, good. Very good.
And particularly in LD and PF where you're using substantially less evidence, you know, articles from
general news sites and social things become a lot less relevant because you're putting a lot less out there, so what you put out there is usually of a higher quality.
So yeah, Peter, I'm not sure if you know this, but you actually paste text to the word with unformatted format. It's like an option, paste actually is an option. But even if the format's really weird, so it's pasted like.
Yeah, there are options to do it, but it just takes an extra 5 seconds. I'm all about saving the seconds.
Actually, on that note, is there a template that you can download for GMU like
Yeah.
header?
The one that we use is I customize, and then I can try to put it up online, but then I realize that it is best when I like download it individually, and then I have to customize based on the computer. So I'll try to put it online on the Wiki, but then it might not. The setting that I have might not work.
The best we can promise that is we'll talk to Christine Tablerat, because it's a big venture to set something up on everyone's computer.
We will be having a one-on-one later on in the week when it's like not just one-on-ones with your lab about how to do templating features on your own documents so that you can create one that's customized to yourself. And that's really helpful so that you can have your own research. This is for any of the events. It's very important. I've often seen so many LD cases that look disgusting. They might be really good, but if you look at them, you're like, this is written in Comic Sans. You should never use Comic Sans. You should never use a lot of fonts that are on there, like Wingdings or anything like that. Who knows? But seriously, like Times New Roman, those ones are good ones. But yeah, and it makes your documents look a lot better. There's also functions that you can program into your computer that make making your document look better a lot easier.
Do all of the non-policy kids know the use or what a template is in the context of debate?
Your hand raised. Just do it. Your hand raised. Did you ask like clarification of what that means? What he had just asked? What templates he asked?
Policy, what it was, and just like more
Gotcha.
Okay. You don't know what a template is? Okay. It's just a customized Word document in Microsoft Word that rather than having, to do the normal functions of paste, click, underline, all that, it sets up, I'll just use my Mac for an example, and in Windows, all of your F numbered keys will perform different functions, like, and you can customize it to whatever you want, those short keys. One of these will underline, one of these will automatically paste in the text and format that you want, one of these will minimize file, one of these will do citation, and all that. It just makes researching evidence just so much quicker than having to have a very elongated process for everything when you just press a button and that does most of the work for you.
It's an advanced version of the Control-C for copy and like stuff like that. It's more things of how we figured out to make our life easier in debate and writing stuff.
It is verbatim, but then I've changed. Yeah, it's customized so that all the fonts don't look like whatever fonts that they use for their default design way. And the other things.
Any other questions? Research is really important. Like, no matter what, you want to sound smart, and research helps you do that. So if you have a question, no matter how stupid you think it is, ask it. I didn't know how to Control-C until I was like in college. So.
And this also gives you a leg up on all of your classmates back in school. They're struggling, worried about what they're going to do with their research papers, and you've already found everything you're going to use within like 5 or 10 minutes. And that's a very useful tool since a lot of time high school students will spend, they just don't know the first place to look in terms of where a quality research article is to help with their particular paper.
Okay, we're gonna go through a little bit of a drill now. You don't need computers. This is more of a getting you accustomed to knowing where you should be searching for certain articles. So Peter and I are just gonna start naming topics or article titles. And if you know it, or even just wanna take a guess or gander, raise your hand and be like, oh, I could find that on Project Muse or Google Scholar, something like that. Okay? Here you go first.
Say I want to find an article on neoliberalism. Bing?
Never
Alright,
seen.
let's try it.
JSTOR?
JSTOR? Yeah.
Couple others.
Muse.
Yeah.
Scholar.
Yeah, you could definitely find them in the Scholar.
Muse? Google Books.
Google Books, yeah. What if you want to find a recent article about Congress voting on the comprehensive immigration reform?
Which one?
Google News?
Yeah. Couple others. I saw you raise your hand. Yeah, that's good.
C-SPAN?
Sure.
And RSS feed.
Yeah. Google, just generic Google would work.
Washington Post?
Yeah.
Say you want to find an article about Venezuelan oil.
Google Scholar?
Google Scholar, I have a couple of articles.
Google News.
Yeah, if you want to find out, like, a pipeline just burst, got to figure out what it is. Oh, you raise your hand. You can just, like, shout them out.
License.
Yeah, sure.
Wikipedia.
Economist.
Wikipedia is usually after the fact in terms of large
I was talking about
geopolitical events.
I was
Yeah.
talking like start out, you just like make sure everyone else is like.
Yeah, definitely.
What if you wanted a PDF about how oil has been critical to Venezuelan stability for the past 20 years? Like, analyzing, just shout them out, shout them out.
JSTOR? Google Scholar? JSTOR?
Yeah.
Google News?
What if you wanted to find an article about critical legal studies and how they implicate the topic you are debating? Muse,
Harvard Library?
JSTOR,
Library.
books. Peter might hate them, but I think they're good.
What made you think that?
Your diatribe about you might not want to go get a book, coffee.
Oh, look at that, Google. There also are some fun. Do you have a website for free books?
Yeah, we went over that yesterday. Does anyone remember where you can find free books? Amazon. Filter by price and not relevance, because that's what they try to do. They often also try to sort. You gotta be careful. They want you to buy things. So when you sort, they also have high to low. And you might accidentally click an $859 book and press submit and buy it. This has happened to myself. It was not fun getting that taken off my credit card. Where else can you find free books? Google Books. Real easy.
One that I use is TUEBL. It's a free book library.
It's also against the law and we're trying to shut it down.
What was library?
The library? Did you say the library?
Say EY.
They shut it down, yeah. I knew them all.
Library, it's like an
Yeah.
online database.
And the library? The library often even has electronic books if you don't want to have to go through the whole OCR hectic fiasco.
And even if they don't have the book in the library, you can do interlibrary loan. I know I've gotten books from this college through interlibrary.
I was actually going to say that.
So,
Yeah. It's cheaper. Our college will do it for people that aren't even students, where you can come in and be like, hey, you don't got it, but I know you can find it. This. And they're going to be like, all right, give us a couple days, or maybe weeks, depending on where it is, like if it's in California, have patience, and they will find it and get it to you and let you loan it. So make use of the resources around you.
I know it may sound like a weird question, but can you talk about how to find books in the New York Times?
I've never tried. I don't know if that's, yeah, I don't think so.
The useful thing there would be
Book reviews, and then they can tell you what books you should be searching for.
And one part of journals that I didn't touch upon is, I guess because of this lecture is not book heavy, there are a lot of, in every journal at the bottom, when you look at it, there are review essays, and these are a lot easier for professors to crank out because it's just like, X author was wrong, here's my 5 pages. Now, that piece of evidence is not particularly useful in terms of cutting a piece of evidence, but it is referencing a piece of literature that you could find useful. So even though you can't cut a card from that, so for instance, in this Latin American Studies review that we're looking at right here, these 5 articles right here might not have a lot of good evidence right in those articles, but say Nady was including this topic. This is probably a pretty good book. This Politics and Policy has a list of 4 books that are in relation to the Latin America topic, so it's good to find resources.
Another way that you can use book reviews that a lot of people in debate don't think about, who's ever heard a debater that they hit and you might have lost to reading some abstract philosopher you had never heard about? Or some article that stated a statistic or fact that you just didn't think was right, but you didn't have anything to counter it, so you were in a bad position. Both of those things, if they're in books, if you read the book reviews, one, there are a lot of people that like saying that abstract philosophers are just confusing and wrong. You can use those book reviews to answer those positions. But two, like, it's in any type of field, like one example is like hegemony, where we talk about U.S. power. There are tons of really smart academic scholars who say, yes, let's build up our militaries, let's send them overseas, let's be the unipolar force so that we can solve wars and like be awesome and peacemakers. But then there are other people who are just as qualified who write book reviews that are like, no, that is the worst idea ever. We need to like take all of our military and put them on U.S. shores and not intervene. And that would be the way that you could use that book review, is answering that argument that the other academic scholars' point of views. Oh, yeah. More questions? All right. Did we have them all very considered? Computer time. Take a break. Okay, this actually, we will have computer time, but we are going to give you a 5-minute break because we understand research lectures very hard to sit through. So go take a break, come back, and be ready to be awesome.
Be back at 10:15.
Right now, we're in
I would actually go
Kyle.
down the stairs
What
straight,
happens
and
after
then in that lobby area,
That's the wrap around the corner.
It's loud for y'all.
Actual working after high school, we have like labs with specific groups. So going to college lab would be a good idea, or sitting in on policy,
yeah.
Text messages.
I chose not to respond to your message.
I don't like it.
It's fine. I got all emails though, I'm not responding to them because that is what we will be going over. Wait, not one. That is what we're going over.
Once I get to it.
Actually, it'd be a rip-off. It's like 3 by 8. Starbucks now. Yeah. See that. See you later.
No, I don't. We'll go over it.
That's Windows 8. No, dude, not here for a second. That's Windows 8. Oh no.
Wait, why did you change for phone? They can change the Okay.
Kills your computer.
We're going to be doing a drill, asking to find certain things.
What's with your obsession of saying Yemen?
Okay, let's leave that for you.
Oh, nurses are gay.
I don't think it works.
I can't.
Do you have any options?
No.
Pros and cons, but it also has buttons.
I don't think you have one.
This doesn't need that much. It's not bad.
Oh, yeah. Did it? Wait, what? Who do you? I like
You didn't touch it, dog.
everything. Happens a lot. Hey, is it better if you go? I'll give it to you.
As long as I get it before our lab. Okay.
I'll do it right now. Hold on, where you there?
Wait, Eric, let me ask you. Eric, let me ask you. Let me ask you. You can actually but my alien were just like, oh, I'm serious.
Wait, I got some boy.
Are you serious?
So what's my touch?
gay or more serious?
I accidentally screwed up the password. Online. I'm like 90-ish. Offline at work.
Tiny chicken butt, really? Really? Your name's Tiny Chicken, and you're calling me out for my name?
Hey, that's not my
Whoa, are you level 30? Okay, either I call it out. Yeah, it was like, what did you tell me on the How hot? Oh my god. It's like oh my god.
Alright, everybody, as the person, or persons, if you have people on both sides, who was sitting next to you before this, still there.
Yes. Imaginary friends count.
Alright,
Okay.
who was in that computer next to you? Was that Todd? Okay.
One last point about the benefits of journals and why you should use them, and then we'll get to using your computers, is all journals have cites, have citations, which means that for almost 80%, 70% of the articles that are published in journals, they are citing their author or citing where the idea came from, because to do otherwise would be plagiarism. So what's useful for that is after you look at the article and say, this article is very useful to my arguments. This helped explain my thesis. This helped me provide the foundation for my criticism. Alright, on to next Google search. Something that you should think about before you do that is when you have a good card, always check to see the citation It can be in text like this, so right here, blue 2010, and then go to like the paragraph where you took the nice piece of evidence that supports your claim, and then you go to the bottom. Sometimes it's actually on the page, and then you can find, you don't have to start another Google search or do a brand new search. You can go to the bottom of the journal, and it will have articles that are in relation to that, because the author had to find similar articles to support his claim. So for instance, this article right here is about remittances. Remittances are, it's an economic term in relation to how much money is sent from immigrants in a home country, and not their native country, sending it back to normally their, not normally, but their family, to support their family, and that is tracked somehow that I am not at all aware of, but that's what remittances are. This is a term you're probably going to hear, the economic engagement topic, because a lot of affirmatives are going to bring more Cubans into the country, more Venezuelans into the United States, which means that it'll lead to an increase in remittances, which is just a side note. So this is just something that you might come across in this topic for policy. So what you do after that is you go to the bottom after you cut this piece of evidence, and this author has shown, here's another article about, right here. There is another article from 2002 on remittances. So you can not only cut your 1NC card, your first affirmative card, you can also cut the extensions for that just in this one journal alone, which is why it's very useful to utilize the entirety of a journal.
All right, we are going to do some drills. Is everyone internet connected? Why are you feeling this?
There's always one.
Oh, you can mind By the way, LB Labby, if you haven't sent your outline / rough draft, do so before our lab.
Send them.
Yeah. Is this issue that's going to take long, or does it seem like it's not going to? Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually what we're going to do in the meantime.
Good suggestion.
And have Young Juan try to work his smart magic on it. All right.
Actually, I just realized that mine I connected, but it decided to stop displaying like the bulk of the page. You know what I'm talking about? The one that you're not supposed to close. What would you do?
I would just,
For now, just look next. Yeah. All right. I want you all. I'm not going to tell you where to search for it, but we are going to search for any article about a certain topic that is related to what I'm going to tell you about. So I want you to search for an article about immigration. Surprise, it's my favorite topic. And how immigration relates to the economy. When you have finished, raise your hand.
That was just taking a little bit to go back. Search. For immigration or for an issue related to Congress, that's helpful because that means it's only referencing the current immigration bill and not past ones, which is why when you're searching books, it's okay to go back because, there'll only be like so many books in relation to that. But always try to go the most recent and then go back as, you need that. So when you're doing a citation, when you're doing a citation, it's useful to go down a little bit, see how it's working with the word. That means that they submitted it for like a conference, but it hasn't been properly vetted. They are doing more work on it, so it's fine for using as evidence. But you would just want to, if it says working paper, you would want to include that in a Google search or title, because you might have an old copy, and they might have published that later on, so you can get a larger version of that.
So like, next thing to Texas.
Synergy.
Gotcha. My goal for it is to make a picture.